Hello, welcome back to the Southern Bible Thumper channel. I hope that you're having a good day so far. I am. This week is my birthday. August is my birthday month. I am 1 year older. I am 1 year wiser. And most importantly, I'm 1 year closer to spending eternity with my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. For this upload, we'll be reading Numbers chapter 22. And the children of Israel set forward and pitched in the plains of Moab on this side Jordan by Jericho. And Balak the son of Zippor saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites. And Moab was sore afraid of the people because they were many. And Moab was distressed because of the children of Israel. And Moab said unto the elders of Midian, Now shall this company lick up all that are round about us, as the ox licketh up the grass of the field. And Balak the son of Zippor was king of the Moabites at that time. He sent messengers therefore unto Balaam the son of Beor of Pethor, which is by the river of the land of the children of his people, to call him, saying, Behold, there is a people come out from Egypt. Behold, they cover the face of the earth, and they abide over against me. Come now, therefore, I pray thee, curse me this people, for they are too mighty for me. Peradventure, I shall prevail, that we may smite them, and that I may drive them out of the land. For I wot that he whom thou blessest is blessed, and he whom thou cursest is cursed. And the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian departed with the rewards of divination in their hand. And they came unto Balaam, and spake unto him the words of Balak. And he said unto them, Lodge here this night, and I will bring you word again, as the Lord shall speak unto me. And the princes of Moab abode with Balaam. And God came unto Balaam, and said, What men are these with thee? And Balaam said unto God, Balak the son of Zippor, king of Moab, hath sent unto me, saying, Behold, there is a people come out of Egypt, which covereth the face of the earth. Come now, curse me them, peradventure I shall be able to overcome them, and drive them out. And God said unto Balaam, Thou shalt not go with them, thou shalt not curse the people, for they are blessed. And Balaam rose up in the morning, and said unto the princes of Balak, Get you into your land, for the Lord refuseth to give me leave to go with you. And the princes of Moab rose up, and they went unto Balak, and said, Balaam refuseth to come with us. And Balak sent yet again princes more, and more honorable than they. And they came to Balaam, and said to him, Thus saith Balak the son of Zippor, Let nothing, I pray thee, hinder thee from coming unto me. For I will promote thee unto very great honor, and I will do whatsoever thou sayest unto me. Come therefore, I pray thee, curse me this people. And Balaam answered and said unto the servants of Balak, If Balak would give me his house full of silver and gold, I could not go beyond the word of the Lord my God to do less or more. Now therefore, I pray you, tarry ye also here this night, that I may know what the Lord will say unto me more. And God came unto Balaam at night, and said unto him, If the men come to call thee, rise up and go with them. But yet the word which I shall say unto thee, that shalt thou do. And Balaam rose up in the morning, and saddled his ass, and went with the princes of Moab. And God's anger was kindled because he went. And the angel of the Lord stood in the way for an adversary against him. Now he was riding upon his ass, and his 2 servants were with him. And the ass saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, and a sword drawn in his hand. And the ass turned aside out of the way, and went into the field. And Balaam smote the ass to turn her into the way. But the angel of the Lord stood in the path of the vineyards, a wall being on that side, and a wall on that side. And when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she thrust herself unto the wall, and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall. And he smote her again. And the angel of the Lord went further, and stood in a narrow place, where was no way to turn, either to the right hand or to the left. And when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she fell down under Balaam. And Balaam's anger was kindled, and he smote the ass with his staff. And the Lord opened the mouth of the ass. And she said unto Balaam, What have I done unto thee, that thou hast smitten me these 3 times? And Balaam said unto the ass, Because thou hast mocked me, I would there were a sword in mine hand, for now would I kill thee. And the ass said unto Balaam, Am not I thine ass, upon which thou hast ridden ever since I was thine unto this day? Was I ever wont to do so unto thee? And he said, Nay. Then the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand, and he bowed his head, and fell flat on his face. And the angel of the Lord said unto him, Wherefore hast thou smitten thine ass these 3 times? Behold, I went out to withstand thee, because thy way is perverse before me. And the ass saw me, and turned from me these 3 times. Unless she had turned from me, surely now also I had slain thee, and saved her alive. And Balaam said unto the angel of the Lord, I have sinned, for I knew not that thou stoodest in the way against me. Now therefore, if it displease thee, I will get me back again. And the angel of the Lord said unto Balaam, Go with the men, but only the word that I shall speak unto thee, that thou shalt speak. So Balaam went with the princes of Balak. And when Balak heard that Balaam was come, he went out to meet him unto a city of Moab, which is in the border of Arnon, which is in the utmost coast. And Balak said unto Balaam, Did I not earnestly send unto thee to call thee? Wherefore camest thou not unto me? Am I not able indeed to promote thee to honor? And Balaam said unto Balak, Lo, I am come unto thee. Have I now any power at all to say anything? The word that God putteth in my mouth, that shall I speak. And Balaam went with Balak, and they came unto Kirjahuzoth. And Balak offered oxen and sheep, and went to Balaam, and to the princes that were with him. And it came to pass on the morrow that Balak took Balaam, and brought him up unto the high place of Baal, that thence he might see the utmost part of the people. So, summarizing Numbers chapter 22. Israel settled by Moab after decimating 2 neighboring kingdoms. Concerned, King Balak of Moab requested the help of King Baalam, a king who has the reputation of having powerful blessings and cursings. King Balak sends his messengers. Balaam invites them to stay and tells them he wants to ask God what to do next. God asks him who these men are, and Balaam explains. God tells Balaam not to curse Israel and not to travel with these messengers. We also learn that Balaam reports to the God of Israel. King Balak does not accept Balaam's answer and offers to honor him. When the next set of prestigious messengers arrive, Balaam asks them to stay. He says he'll ask God, who will give him the answer on what to do next. God tells Balaam he can go to Moab with the messenger, but to only say what God says. Balaam journeys to Moab with his female donkey and 2 servants. God becomes angry and sends an angel to inconvenience him, which he does 3 times. The donkey attempts to avoid the angel, which angers Balaam, and he beats her. In verse 28, God empowers the donkey to speak, and she asks King Balaam, why did he beat her? King Balaam tells her that she embarrassed him and that he would have killed her if he had a sword. She asks him if this is her normal behavior, and he acknowledges that it's not. Verse 31, God empowers Balaam to view the angel who asks Balaam why he's beaten the donkey. He explains that he would have killed Balaam if he'd continued. Verse 35, the angel tells Balaam, continue to Moab, but say only what he says, he being an angel from God. Balaam arrives at Moab. Balak immediately questions why he delayed his journey. And he asks him, did you not believe that I'm capable of blessing you? In verse 38, Balaam tells him, I'm here, but I can only say what God tells me to say. And together they travel to another city. Highlights. In verse 2, Balak observed Israel. This is an example of visibility attracting negative attention. The Bible is showing that this type of issue of attracting attention is another reason why Israel needs their own space and their own land. I have had a little bit of trouble getting through these last few chapters and understanding what the significance is of reading about Moses and the Israelites for so many chapters. It wasn't until I read Numbers chapter 27 that this all started to make sense. God has to directly intervene to deliver Israel from slavery. After he delivers them out of slavery, he gives them a culture, he gives them traditions, he gives them laws, which creates an identity. And then he wants to give them land. And that was Numbers chapter 13. That's when he first tried to give them land, but they were scared because of the report from the spies. And so now they don't have a place, and there's over 600,000 people just in the wilderness. And they're going to need stuff like wells and the intention was, or what this would have done, what this will do when Israel gets their own space away from Egypt, they're going to be citizens on their own land instead of slaves. The difference with a citizen and a citizen can participate economically and have some sort of control over their life. A slave doesn't have that. And people who are enslaved, they can never rely on the people that enslaved them to ever give them a chance to thrive economically. What will happen is what we saw in Exodus chapter 1. Pharaoh, being terrified of the capacity of the Israelites, employed 2 Hebrew midwives to help assist Hebrew women with their births. And the assignment was, when a male child was born, kill him. So when you have a group of slaves in a society, the people who have enslaved them are never going to give them equal opportunity to participate economically. What they will get is a situation like that, where it's employment, the illusion of being able to participate economically, but it will only be something that will harm themselves, barely provide any sustenance, and carry out the will of the people that enslaved them. Because God saw this, he saw that they were enslaved for 400 years at least. And then when we even go back further in the book of Genesis, when Joseph brought his family to Egypt, Joseph was behaving or, impersonating an Egyptian because he was sold into slavery, and he worked his way up to have a high ranking position in Egyptian society. When he brought his brothers to have dinner and he was still, an Egyptian, it was an abomination for Egyptians and Hebrews to eat together. So this is before they were even enslaved in Egypt. So there was always this long-standing contention with the Israelites and the Egyptians. The Egyptians always had resources, and they always had a problem. There was always a discrimination, a segregation. Now that they're enslaved, there is going to be absolutely no chance that they're going to be able to ever reason with the Egyptians for equal opportunities. So God saw this and he said, well, you know what? Let me just deliver you. Egypt did welcome the Hebrews with open arms, though, in the book of Genesis. So God had them ask the Egyptians to let them go. And because of their disobedience, this is also showing that even when they ask and they try to have a reasonable discussion with the people that enslaved them, it's never ever going to work. They're always going to be enslaved, and they're always going to have to be in a really messed up position to get their needs met as human beings. And it will be like that until God directly intervenes. So the reason why we've been reading about Moses and the Israelites for 146 pages is because God wanted to illustrate clearly why people who have previously been enslaved cannot remain in a society with the people that enslaved them and expect equal opportunities to anything, to participate economically, to gain control of their life. And if they do get some kind of position, it's going to be abusive and it's going to be something that does not really help them participate in society. So we're going to get into that. It's deep and it made me real excited. And of course, me being African American in the South, I'm going to try not to get into that because, we don't want to talk about race in church, right? We Christians, we don't want to talk about race. You can type in Google what Jesus looks like, and I'm just saying, as an African American woman, I've certainly been to church and to other African Americans' houses, and Jesus doesn't look like us. When I go to a majorly white church, they have Jesus looking like them. I mean, if it doesn't matter, then why? If it doesn't matter, then why does it have to be like that? Why? It seems like Jesus could be represented in every race, at least. Or at least if you go to a black church, Jesus is black. You go to a white church, Jesus is white. You go to a Hispanic church. That would make more sense, right? It ain't like that though. But I'm not gonna try to talk about race too much in it because during this election year, nobody's gonna care anyway, right? So let's just every time we even mention it, it's immediate met with immediate hostility. Immediate hostility. But you know what? When that money was sent to Ukraine, there was African American tax money that was sent. You'd be wondering why some people have an attitude sometimes. When you learn this history, when you read this stuff, and I'm thinking I'm going to read about God, I'm going to read about these characters, and I feel like I'm reading about history and how it was never made right in this country. But I'm not going to do all that because you know what? Why? Maybe our pastor. Why don't we get our pastor to start talking about Hebrew? So, King Balak observed Israel, them being outside without a land, it made them targets. Verse 3, Moab was fearful from observing Israel, and Israel had just decimated 2 neighboring kingdoms, and now Israel is settled next to them. Verse 5 through 6, King Balak was motivated to act against Israel based on how he felt. The action was organizing an attempt to purchase a curse against Israel. This is an example of inadequate leadership with zero confidence. King Balak has to outsource a curse. He immediately fears that Israel will overtake his kingdom, which that's the reason why Israel was enslaved in the first place. The Pharaoh was fearful of them, fearful of their capacity. And remember, there's that long-standing tradition of it's an abomination to eat with the Hebrews, and so he just went ahead and enslaved them. So now we have another king trying to affect Israel, haven't had one interaction with Israel, but terrified of their capacity, wanted to curse them. So just want to bring up that King Balak's inadequacy to deal with this fear of Israel, because he's not, if he can't deal with this, he can't get someone from his own kingdom to just curse Israel. He's inadequate as a leader. He can't solve his own issues in his kingdom. He has to outsource it. A leader being inadequate does not just leaders who are inadequate don't lose their status just because they're inadequate. And so this is information to just always remember, because inadequacy character defects and shortcomings, those are not reasons for gain or loss alone. And the percentage of that is probably smaller than what we give it credit for, because things are not doled out fairly. And God has taken 146 pages to show us human nature, to show us that you're going to have these kings that will act out of how they feel about something. He's giving us a chance to really see that with all the time of Israel being in that situation with the Egyptians, that they were never going to work. They were never going to be able to be an economically viable group of people that had control over their lives and that could honor God the way he wants. Because we see in here, there's a lot of traditions God wants them to keep. He wants them to not work every Sunday. And how are they going to do that if they have no control over their finances? If they can't participate economically, then they have to listen to the people with all the resources. So now, God is not who you go to for your morals. Morality is he who makes the gold, he who has the gold makes the rules. So now morality, justice, it doesn't exist, because justice is what the people who have all the resources says justice is. So when we look at recent history, as I am African American, I am in the South. I'm south of the Mason-Dixon line, and there are just a lot of similarities. We're also seeing that in this chapter, this is an example of a leader allowing their emotions to motivate them to action. God is also showing us this is a human thing that people do. They allow their emotions to motivate them to action. Passing emotions like jealousy and intimidation should not motivate anyone to deprive anyone else of anything. But if you don't work on yourself, that's what you're going to do, because it's like automatic. It's a human thing to do. And so I had something recently where I was deprived of something based on how someone felt about me, which is why I don't attend church, because I get tired of how that goes. Who's going to fight to go to church so you can feel discriminated against? Okay. The Bible is also showing us human fallacy in leadership when it comes to their competency and motivation, and how this will affect the Israelites if they don't have their own kingdom, if they don't have their own stuff. This will add to the fact that Israel needs their own society. Verse 4. Who voiced the concern that Israel is near Moab? So I know I've recorded this a couple of other times, but this is a discrepancy. When you look at every translation, the people are voicing the concern of the Israelites being too close to their kingdom. It's not until you get to the New Living Translation that you see the king being noted as the one voicing the concern of the proximity of the Israelites to their kingdom. And so it's a tiny translation discrepancy. Just want to demonstrate how if you see something like this, you can look at all these sources, with BibleRef.com, you can look at every translation, and you'll see that every other translation says one thing, but one translation says something else. If you still feel that if you still feel like you don't get enough, if you find a discrepancy as you're reading and you feel like Bible Ref, you want something that's a tiebreaker, you should go and use this interlinear. The interlinear Bible is the closest translation to the original manuscript, which was written in Hebrew. When we look at verse 4, we have, so said Moab to the elders. So we have here the people are the ones voicing the concern. So just wanting to demonstrate how those sources are used. Verse 9, God asked Balaam who the messengers were. This is the second time that King Balak sends more prestigious dignitaries, and God has to ask him, who are these people? And so the note that I wrote in here was, why is God asking? Isn't God all-knowing? This is something that I have always believed, is that God is all-knowing. He knows your thoughts. But I have not seen that in a scripture anywhere. So I'm hoping that the Bible will reveal this answer. We also see that God asks questions like this at other times in Genesis chapter 3, verse 9, with Adam and Eve. And then he asks him, where are you, Adam? And who told you were naked? Did you eat from the tree? And it's just something that I noticed. Next highlight, Balak sent another group of more prestigious people when Balaam declined. He made a more generous offer in exchange. Balak recognized Balaam's blessings and cursings as notable. This is an example of a leader disregarding the value of spirituality unless it can be used to produce an outcome. This is an example of attempting to use earthly bribes for a spiritual gift. Balaam is a king. He can stand by his resolve because he's not motivated by his access to resources. Sufficiency reduces desperation and allows the person the opportunity to choose both God and survival. And this is what God wanted for Israel. Because if he gives them their own kingdom away from the Egyptians, and they don't have to be enslaved, they don't have to be motivated by material gain. They also don't have to fight and defeat kingdoms and live in their kingdom because they don't have their own. What's also really funny about the Israelites is they're willing to fight, or they know they have to fight sometimes, but when God told them to fight in Canaan back in Numbers 13, they were too afraid. If they would have gone into the promised land in Numbers 13, they wouldn't be here now. Verses 28 through 30. Balaam was so enraged with the female donkey that he told her he would kill her if he had a sword for making a fool of him. He was so enraged that he didn't even recognize how much of an anomaly a talking animal is, especially one that he's had for some time, who suddenly starts speaking. This is a clue on Balaam's disposition. This super holy man of God who went to God every time the messengers came. He said, you can stay here. Stay here. I'm going to go to God and see what he wants. He was that godly, such a godly man. But he got so angry at being inconvenienced that he was going to kill his loyal donkey, his loyal worker. He was going to kill her. Also, he didn't see the angel of God. He wasn't rational enough to acknowledge a talking donkey. He was that enraged. This is the second Bible occurrence of a animal talking. So that is all I have for Numbers chapter 22. I'm excited to get through the end. This will be the last time I record Numbers 22. Thank you for watching. The next upload, I will upload a different video. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.